Hi there, and welcome to my Monday Magic series of coaching tips or coaching concepts. The idea is that these are just little short bursts, ideas, questions, exercises that you can take away and use for yourself in your everyday life. Today's is going to be about language. Language is incredibly important, but we throw out a bazillion words every day. And then think about the bazillion other words that you use in your head, talking to yourself. Yes, we all do that. But it's we throw these away, and it's talk is cheap and all of that. But actually, we should be paying a little bit more attention to our language, because it's what we use to program our brains. The words we're using are giving our mind instructions. I think I've quoted this before. It's supposedly Buddha, he's quoted as saying, the mind is everything, what you think you become. And a million other people have said a million similar things. And when we are talking to ourselves, our words become our actions, and they're linked to our thoughts, and they're all tied up in our belief system. So just as an example of this, I used to believe that I wasn't creative. So I was told a while back, God knows when or by who, that I was very organised. I might have mentioned this before actually. Very organised and very, very structured. And so I kind of had it in my head that I was very organised and not creative. And I would say that to people. I actually took that on, and people would say, oh, how about this? And I'd say, oh, no, that's not my sort of thing. I'm not creative. I would literally repeat that to myself, telling myself, I'm not creative. Of course, am I going to go out of my way then to do creative things? No, because I have this belief, I'm programming myself with my language, that I'm not creative. So the way we talk to ourselves, eventually, thankfully, I questioned that, but I had been telling myself for years. So the way we talk programs our brain, and even when we're talking to other people, we are taking that on board ourselves, and we're putting a lot of limitations on ourselves. We're imposing these boundaries upon ourselves. Things like, when we say, I can't do this, actually we're completely lying to ourselves about this. We are telling ourselves that there is something we are not able to do, even though others can. I found myself doing this a lot. I'm more conscious now of it, but still don't catch myself every time. But I might say something like, oh yeah, they're that sort of person. I can't do that. Who says? But because we keep telling ourselves, then are we going to try? Are we going to step out of our comfort zone? Absolutely not. There's a topic, the best person to talk about language is Richard Bandler, who was the co-founder of NLP, which stands for Neuro-Linguistic Programming, for those of you who are not familiar with it. And I couldn't hope to paraphrase all of Richard's knowledge. So go check him out. He's written loads of books, and there's loads of decent literature by him on the topic of NLP and the use of language, because it is what we use to program our brains. So he would talk about what he refers to as modal operators, which is just a fancy way of saying words like should. I should do this. What does the word should signify? I hate the word should. And he's taking out the dictionary, because if we're saying I should do something rather than I want to do something, can you hear the difference there? So I should do something suggests that you're making yourself do that, or that someone's forcing you with a big stick over your head. I should go to the gym. Are you going to go to the gym? If you say I should go to the gym, probably not. Or you're going to go and you'll be miserable about it. Whereas if you say, yeah, I want to go to the gym, it's a whole different meaning and a whhole different mindset. We need to be really, really careful with these words we're using, whether they're kind of empowering words that indicate choice, or they're words that suggest, like the word should, that somehow we're being forced to do them, or we really don't want to. Compare, for example, I hope I'll get a job. I hope I'll get the job. I'm going for an interview. I hope I'll get the job. With I know I'll get the job. It's just completely different, and we're setting ourselves up in different ways based on what we're saying. So compare something like, oh, this has happened to me. Oh, what will I do now? Oh, it's so awful. With, okay, this has happened. I know I'll handle it. So your subconscious registers the more negative, disempowering stuff, and sees it as terrible. And it might sound really, really trivial to you, but the language we use is programming our brains, so it's worth monitoring. The language we use with ourselves is a massive thing, but think about the language we use with others as well. So if my friend says to me, yeah, I'll try and meet you for 2:00, do I think she's going to turn up? Or if she says, yeah, I'll meet you at 2:00, okay, so I'm a little bit more sure she's going to turn up. Also, such a broad topic, language, like I say, go dig into NLP if you're into this. Another thing that comes up about use of language is how the brain doesn't process negatives. So you think about a computer line of command code, there's nothing for don't do this. You either do or you don't, the subject is there. So the brain finds it really hard to process a negative. To show you what I mean, don't think of a pink elephant right now. Okay, what picture have you got in your head right now? Hopefully a pink elephant. So if you tell someone not to do something, they have to create a picture in their head of doing the thing and then somehow not do that, but then they've already created a picture in their head. So, for example, NLP, use of language, great for parenting. Watch what you're saying to your kids. So you say to a child who's holding a glass of milk on the table that's looking a bit precarious, don't spill the milk. Immediately they've got the picture in their head of spill the milk. Oh, and the don't is just kind of neither here nor there. So if you were to say instead perhaps, 2 hands, strong and steady, that's a whole different picture in their head than spill the milk. Oh, don't. So language, I can only just kind of touch the surface of it right here, but it is hugely important, and I'd really like you to focus on your language over the next week. Monday Magic series has now gone back to weekly after the launch week of daily ones, so how about for the next week looking at your language? Are you using words that are empowering, or are you using words that suggest you have no choice and you're just a hapless victim of circumstance in your life? You also might like to look at an exercise that I do with lots of clients, and it's the inner critic versus inner best friend exercise. So we all have this delightful inner critic that, the little voice on our shoulder, as it were, that tells us, you're crap, you're not good enough, you can't do this, no, don't do that, no, you'll never achieve that. And basically keeps you in your comfort zone and runs you down all the time. The way we talk to ourselves is astonishing. We would never talk to anybody else like that. Well, I hope we wouldn't. Some of the things we say to ourselves, when we start to become aware of it, it can be quite alarming. We really can be quite mean to ourselves. And this exercise, you just get a sheet of paper, or it might end up being several, line down the middle vertically, and on the left-hand side is the voice of your inner critic. And once you start noticing this, write these down. So something negative, you might go to do something, and your brain will say, I'm not creative, I'm not good enough, I am not capable of getting this job, etc., etc. And you write it down the left-hand column. That's the voice of your inner critic. Then in the right-hand column, beside each negative statement or inner critic statement, opposite it, you write what an inner best friend might say. One of my coaching clients calls this her inner cheerleader, which I think is fantastic. So you can call it your inner cheerleader. You can call it your anything you like, but it's the more positive side. If a friend was talking to you and you said, oh, I'm really rubbish, that I'm never going to be able to do this. And they might say, well, hang on a minute. Haven't you done that before? Haven't you got X, Y, and Z jobs before? Aren't you here at this moment with a roof over your head and a job and a partner and whatever? And they will probably bring in the kind of evidence to show you. And that's a kind of a CBT, cognitive behaviour therapy type phrase around evidence, which maybe I'll go into more detail in another session. But they'll start to encourage you, look at this, look at that, and they'll kind of be the rational side, the more positive, and the balance for that inner critic. So imagine instead you've got that best friend in your head, and try that exercise. It might sound trivial, but it can be quite eye-opening to when you start looking at or listening to becoming aware of the voice of your inner critic, and actually to start looking at the counter side for that, and the positives and the rational side can help you to be a little bit less critical on yourself, and not to say so many mean things to yourself, because we all do it, and we all are not as careful with our language as we could be. So yeah, spend the next week checking out your language, looking at, what you say. How many times do you say the word should in a day? And how does that make you feel inside? I should do this, I should do that. It just makes you feel hopelessly trapped. I turned around a good few years ago now and realised that I'd been doing my shoulds most of my life, and I had such a real sense of duty, and I was like, well, where are my wants in all of this? So I looked at changing things around so that I do more of my wants. So have a look at that. Have a look at the inner critic exercise. Dig into NLP if you're interested in language. I find it fascinating, and it really helps me with coaching clients, because I'm really switched on to these words. And when I hear the word should, it's like a red flag goes off. Now, what's going on here? Where's the belief system under this? Who told you should? And where does that come from? So have a look at your language. Please email me on joe@joeritchie.com, or put comments below if you have any topics you want covered in these sessions. And thank you for your support, your likes, your shares. I really appreciate it. And if you think that sharing will be helpful to people in your network, then please go ahead. That's lovely. I really appreciate it. So yeah, until next week, watch your language. It programs your brain, and it's more important than you think. Take care. Bye.